Yeah, good evening. Let's start with today's session. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good evening, all of you. Let's start with the question sessions only. This was the question asked in the previous NATA exam, the latest exam that was held. Yes, this is a very interesting question because this is probably for the first time in the history of NATA or even in the history of architectural entrance exams that such a type of question was asked. This is for the first time this kind of a question was seen in the question paper and uh, in the online mode, and this is also very interesting at the same time. As you can see, the four outlined skyline pictures on screen, and the question is all about the given images below are single line sketches of various cities in the world depicting their famous landmarks. मतलब ये जो है आउटलाइन है, ये आउटलाइन से आपको सिटी के जो फेमस लैंडमार्क्स हैं, जो भी सिटी पर्टिकुलर सिटी सिलेक्ट किया हुआ है उसके फेमस लैंडमार्क्स यहाँ पे आउटलाइंड है, तो उसमें से आपको आइडेंटिफाई विच इज द अप्रोप्रिएट स्काईलाइन ऑफ सिडनी इन ऑस्ट्रेलिया। आप में से सब लोगों ने इसको अटेम्प्ट किया होगा, सभी लोगों ने अटेम्प्ट किया होगा। तो इसमें करेक्ट ऑप्शन कौन सा है? Correct option is C, because here we can see the outline of Sydney, Australia, Sydney Opera House. Okay, so one thing we should learn out of such questions is how to like identify the structures, and for this we should also know the important buildings and important structures of the city from tourism point of view. If that much awareness we can develop, then we can easily answer the questions. So let's see what other three outlines they represent. This is about Sydney Opera, and by this we could identify. How about the other options? Let's take a look at that. But before that, let me just explain it to you, if in case you are unaware, that what a silhouette is. Silhouette is the dark shape and outline of someone or something visible in restricted light against a brighter background. So all these black images that you can see, these images could be anything. It could be any object or a person or maybe animal or maybe a scene, an entire scene. It could be anything. But in case of a silhouette, what we happen to see is all the dark images against the lighter background, as light as white or light as blue or something, but the background would be light because the images are all either dark gray or black, right? A silhouette is the image of a person, animal, object or scene represented. At the same time, in the silhouette we can't see the details, as in the eyes and the crease of the outfits, the color of the outfits, because the silhouette is always the colorless thing, and therefore we can't see the details in case of a silhouette. Okay, so the interior of a silhouette is featureless, and the silhouette is usually presented on a light background. For example, I mean, here one thing I just forgot to tell you, that this was a question asked in this variety of a question that are sometimes asked in USEED and NID exams, wherein the silhouette is given and you are supposed to give an expression and the details to this silhouette. This is the question figure, and here you are supposed to like mark the eyes and all the certain details in such a way that one can understand the expressions and the feeling, or the more clear idea one can get out of the image. So the question figure would be this, and the answer figure would be something like this, right? So this kind of questions are asked sometimes in UCID and NIDDAT exams, and also sometimes in NIFT exams. But here we are specifically talking about the NATA, National Aptitude Test in Architecture, and JWB Arch Paper 2 exams. What is skyline? An outline of land and buildings defined against the sky. For example, the skyline of the city, we normally happen to say, this is a very usual term, that the skyline of the city is very interesting. So what is a skyline that you could see? This is the skyline. This is the original picture of Australia, and the skyline of Australia would give you an idea about the variety of the structures, whether taller or shorter, or the nature of the buildings, and also everything which is included in the shutter. I mean, in the picture frame, everything would be visible if you take a broader picture of any city, right? So this is the skyline of Sydney, Australia, and here you can see this spire-like building over here, and along with that few more other vertical buildings with some typical shapes to it, and between all these buildings this always stands out, right? So if we search in Google, we can easily find this silhouette or the skyline of any city. You just type the skyline of Australia or Sydney, Australia, and you will get many such pictures like this, which are easily available. So after this session, you can just search for the skyline of few more important cities also from India, like maybe skyline of Bombay and like that. You'll get all these pictures, right? So here what is this pole-like structure? This is known to every one of us that this is Sydney Opera, and this bridge is also famous in Sydney. From tourism point of view, this skyline along with the name of the city also forms an important frame in the tourism department of the particular city. So sometimes black against white, and sometimes white against black, like that. This kind of frames could be seen. So you can see that this is the question figure, and now let's try to match not only Sydney Opera but the other structures also which are present here. What are those structures? Let's try to identify. For example, at least what is this bridge and what is it called as, and what about this thin pole-like lamp post-like structure, what it is actually. Let's find out. So this is very famous as Sydney Tower. Hopefully you can identify it in the outline picture, right? So this is the same tower which is very very famous from tourism point of view, and this is just a kind of viewing tower. यहाँ पे मतलब रहने का या फिर यहाँ पे ऐसे कुछ हैबिटेबल एरियाज नहीं है, आप सिर्फ इसके यहाँ तक के रीच हो सकते हो, और यहाँ से you can just take a look all around the city. So that gives a fantastic, splendid look. So this tower is just a watchtower, we can say, and very very famous as Sydney Tower. And you can also see this bridge. The name of the bridge is Sydney Harbour Bridge. You see, this particular session will also cover all the important structures which are at least present in that question figure, so that if individually also the questions are asked showing the visuals for identifying the structure, you can probably do so, because this will be fresh in your mind, right? So here this is Sydney Harbour Bridge, and just by the side of it you can also see Sydney Opera House. And the question sometimes could also be asked like this. I have though explained it to you a few times earlier also, that only the name of the city would be asked, that this bridge is located in which city, right? So if you are aware with this bridge might look similar with the other bridges, because there are n number of bridges all over the world we could find by this kind of similar kind of structural system, so you might get confused. So just to confuse the aspirants only, the examiners, these kind of questions are asked, that this bridge is located in which city. So if you can see the structures and locate the structures in the background, and if you can see that this is Sydney Opera, अरे वाह, तब तो ये ऑस्ट्रेलिया में लोकेटेड है, ये ब्रिज भी ऑस्ट्रेलिया का है ना? तो फिर उसके बाद आपको ये ब्रिज का नाम मालूम हो या ना हो, फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, सिर्फ आपको सिटी आइडेंटिफाई करना है। तो इस तरह से भी क्वेश्चंस पूछे जा सकते हैं। तो आपने अभी देखा कि किस तरह से ये दोनों तीनों स्ट्रक्चर्स को यहाँ पे डिपिक्ट किया हुआ है in the outline sketch of Australia. You can see this Sydney Opera House, and this is another such example. Of course यहाँ पे आपको ये सिडनी टावर नहीं दिख रहा है, लेकिन इस क्वेश्चन फिगर में नहीं दिख रहा है, लेकिन यहाँ पे आपको दिखाई दे रहा है, this is Sydney Tower. Similarly, try to also find out these other buildings, which is quite easy. I mean, you can just search for the important tourist attractions in Sydney, Australia. And you can just Google it out. You will find all the important structures, and I'm sure that these structures will be, I mean, you will be able to then identify by name that what is this particular structure, what is this one, and like that, right? But for, because this is more, I mean, popular in a way, and of course this one. So therefore I just gave the names of 2-3 structures out of this silhouette. This is silhouette. Okay, when we show it like this, completely filled with the black color, and just you can see the outline and the skyline, this is called as silhouette. This is just the single line sketch of outline of skyline of the city, right? और ये जो है ओरिजिनल पिक्चर है. So let's go ahead with the next question figure. Look at this. This was the question figure of those 4 options. This is one of the options. So this is London, right? This outline sketch is of London. Okay, and this is yet another outline sketch which is readily available in internet, very easily available in internet. So not a big issue to find out such information. यहाँ पे ये क्या है, ये क्या है, what are these tower like structures, and what is this particular structure over here? To identify these, you need to further go searching for the tourism website, or just like that the important tourist attractions for London. You will get these buildings and all these important structures one by one. Fine. For example, this one is Can anyone tell me what this famous structure is situated in London? What this structure is?
Ma'am, Elizabeth Tower.
This one or this one?
No, this one is London Bridge.
Yes, of course. London Bridge is falling down. ये हमने बहुत बार rhymes में सुना है. So this London Bridge is famous, and also I think it is in the list of World Heritage Sites. Yes or no? This London Bridge, is it in the list of World Heritage Sites? Just check it out. You need to also go through quickly through all those World Heritage Sites and also the UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the country, in India. What about this? This is London Eye. London Eye is a giant wheel. इसके जैसे अपने यहाँ मेले में दिखाई देता है जाइंट व्हील, ऐसा ये प्रॉब्ली वर्ल्ड का सबसे बड़ा व्हील होना चाहिए. नॉट वेरी श्योर अबाउट इट, लेकिन आप ये इंफॉर्मेशन निकाल लेना. सो दिस इज दैट लंडन आई ओवर हियर, एंड दिस इज बिग बेन लंडन. दिस इज अ क्लॉक टावर, बिग बेन लंडन. And here it is the sketch of London Bridge, along with that few more structures, right? So if not the other structures, at least we should be able to identify the London Bridge, London Eye, and this Big Ben over here, which is a clock tower. You can see the clock over here. So this is the clock tower, and one more building which is situated over here. If you can identify these 3-4 buildings, then it would be easy for you to also find out the skyline, right? So the other building is Gherkin, designed by Norman Foster. This is the name of the structure, name of the building. High-rise structure, and the architect is Norman Foster. So you can also at the same time see the other buildings in the background. Fine. This is London Eye, and unlike the giant wheels that we find in our country, this giant wheel houses each such cubicle or cabin, each basket also we can say, with which could accommodate so many people, and the people, this actually moves very slow, very steadily it moves, because this is not meant for providing the thrill of riding this, but it would give you the view of the city all around. So it would move very, very steadily and slowly, and just a single basket would accommodate several people, and the people could also move here and there as it is moving with a steady speed. So this London Eye is very famous. You should be knowing about such structures. ये देखो बेटा, ये जो एग्जाम है इसमें आपको जनरल अवेयरनेस होना चाहिए. जनरल अवेयरनेस यदि नहीं है तो दिक्कत जाएगी, क्योंकि आर्किटेक्चरल एप्टीट्यूड की उतनी ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं है. मतलब यदि 50% हम कहें कि आर्किटेक्चरल एप्टीट्यूड की ज़रूरत है, तो 50% आपका जनरल अवेयरनेस होगा, तभी आप इसको कर पाओगे. आर्किटेक्चरल अवेयरनेस उतना ज़्यादा इसमें नहीं पूछा जा रहा है, बिकॉज यू कैन सी दैट दीज ऑल स्ट्रक्चर्स आर सो वेरी मच फेमस that any normal person should be able to identify such structures. In your free time, you should be googling through the important structures of all the important places like this. So that way, by fun wave method, you will be able to identify many such structures, right? So here you can see the London Tower Bridge. What is the speciality of bridge? Can you tell me? Can anyone tell me what is the speciality of peculiarity of this bridge? That this can retract. This can open up like this into two parts, allowing the steamers and big ships to cross over. So this is openable platform or the bridge over here. This kind of a structure is called as suspension structure, where these are the suspension cables. Okay, these are the suspension cables, and from here these suspenders are further suspending to hold the bridge. You can see that there is no support from beneath the bridge. Okay, this bridge is just hung from the top by means of the suspension structure or suspension cables. These cables are called as suspension cables. There can be pair of cables or group of cables going like this from one pier support to the other support, and further from those cable suspensions further suspenders could be seen, and these vertical suspenders are all holding this bridge. From this point to this point, this is just a relatively small span, so you don't need any support from the underside of it. But here this is a large span relatively, so you would require some support either from underside of the bridge or from above, right? So this suspension cable is taking care of the load of the bridge, and thus these are called as suspension bridges. I think yesterday or day before yesterday only, when we were studying about all the famous architects and their works, world famous architects and the works, we have studied about the works of architect Renzo Piano, and this building also we have seen as a visual. This is uh, pyramidal in shape or conical in shape, not perfectly conical because it is having some edges to it. So we can say that this is pyramidal in shape, and very famous in London. This is just like a vertical city wherein you can find every facility that is otherwise available in a city spreaded on ground. The whole the facilities of the city that have been brought to this vertical tower in terms of the offices, malls, multiplexes, amusement zones, play areas, the gardens, and somewhere the parking areas as well, parking lots also, including that the habitable areas like apartments, everything could be seen inside this vertical tower, and this is one of the worth visiting places in London, designed by Renzo Piano, the Shard. Let's take a look at Skyline of Dubai. दुबई में जो इम्पोर्टेंट बिल्डिंग्स हैं ये किसको मालूम नहीं है, सभी को पता है ये, है ना. व्हाट दिस बिल्डिंग इज? बुर्ज खलीफा. हाँ, सो फार tallest in world, right? What about this? Burj Al Arab. What this building type is? What for this is used?
I think it's a hotel.
Yes, this is a hotel. How about this? Try to identify, right? After this session, just look for the important buildings of all these important cities to identify. How about this particular building? So this way, if you can identify at least 5 to 6 buildings of a city, then I'm sure you'll be able to identify the questions based on the skyline and silhouette like this. In NATA 2 also, let us expect at least 1 or 2 questions based on this. Just like that, you can also see the important buildings of Washington DC. Let me find out the question figure. See, this is the question figure over here. There were 4 options in the question that we have seen in the first slide. So this is the first option out of it. You can see this structure. Look at this. This building is the Capitol building, Washington DC. What about this? Which structure is this? Can you identify? Sorry?
White House.
Yes, White House. So this is the facade of White House with those, small column-like structures. Is it visible to you on your screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. So you can relate these column-like structures and this triangular form may not be so perfect in sketchy form, but then we can very well relate it with the similar structures. So you can see White House over here. What about this? This is Capitol building. Capitol building is the building where all the governance and the government actually government activities and this is for governance of the city or country. So this is that Capitol building with that pinnacle. This is called as pinnacle. The top of the dome is called as pinnacle. And this one more structure which is over here. This is this. This is famous as Washington Monument. This is called as Washington Monument. So you can see Washington Monument here, right? See what is happening. This is not the true skyline of the city. Skyline is naturally when you take a photograph from one particular angle and you could see one important building with the other structures. So coincidentally, it might happen that one or more than one important buildings or iconic buildings of the iconic structures of the city are like could be seen in the skyline. That is the rare case, but otherwise this is just an outline sketch wherein all the important structures of the city have been put together. लेकिन यहाँ पे ये तीनों एक साथ आपको दिखेंगे ऐसा नहीं है स्काईलाइन में. एक्चुअल स्काईलाइन में ये तीनों बिल्डिंग्स एक साथ आपको नहीं दिखेंगे. This is also not the actual skyline. Here you can see the Capitol building. This is the Washington Monument, right? Few other palaces, and of course, where is that? I mean, here, could you identify the White House? Maybe some other facade of White House is present. So something like that. at least 4 to 5 buildings we should be able to identify. This is also not the skyline, this is silhouette. Hopefully you can now remember these important buildings: the Capitol building, White House, and the Washington Monument. Let's take a look at silhouette of New York. New York is famous as city of skyscrapers. So plenty of skyscrapers you can see in city of New York. How you can identify by this? What is this? All of us know. Come on. Name this structure.
Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty. So जैसे ही स्काईलाइन आया या आउटलाइन स्केच आया तो ट्राई टू आइडेंटिफाई ये स्टैच्यू ऑफ लिबर्टी. स्टैच्यू ऑफ लिबर्टी के अलग अलग एंगल से यदि दिया हुआ है तो थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन भी हो सकता है, तो थोड़ा केयरफुली आराम से पैनिक हुए बगैर देखो कि एक भी स्ट्रक्चर यदि आप कॉन्फिडेंटली आइडेंटिफाई कर पा रहे हो तो यू विल बी एबल टू नैरो डाउन out of all the 4 options, okay, to the answer. So don't get panic, because the most important iconic buildings, only iconic structures, be it the monuments or the structures, sculptures or buildings, would be seen in the outline sketch, right? So without fail, just look for all the important vertical buildings or skyscrapers of New York, because the city is also famous as city of skyscrapers. This is Kuala Lumpur. Can you identify the building? This is the actual skyline, where the iconic structure could be seen surrounded by the other structures, and also with a huge foreground wherein you can see the greenery and all those things. Can you identify this structure?
Petronas Towers.
Beautiful, brilliant. Yes, it is Petronas Tower. And what is this over here? What is this connecting element over here called as? Yes? This is a sky bridge which is connecting these 2 vertical towers over here. Very important structure in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, from tourism point of view. Okay? I think this is going to be the last slide, or maybe a few more. Also, we got to know the meaning and importance of silhouette from fashion designing point of view. I'll just read it out for you. The fashion term silhouette in the world of fashion is very crucial and mandatory. It speaks of structure of your clothing or gives a hint about interest in the type of garments you try, or those are in the racks, right? So it basically defines the outline, the garment you are wearing, whether it is going to be skin hugger or it is going to be a flowy kind in nature. What kind of garment are you designing? By the silhouette of the maybe manicules or the person wearing it, you can get the exact idea of the outfit or the garment. So silhouette plays a vital role in case of fashion industry. So as a matter of getting awareness, we should be knowing this. So the all 4 question figures that were there, they are not from India. So from this point of view, also from our country's important places and the silhouette, the skyline, from this point of view also, you can search all the important cities, the skyline of the city, and the important structures like, right? So this is the silhouette or skyline of Delhi. मतलब जैसे टूरिज्म पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से जब नॉर्मली ऐसे फ्रेम्स को बनाया जाता है तो ऑल द इम्पॉर्टेंट स्ट्रक्चर्स दो दी स्ट्रक्चर्स आर नॉट सिचुएटेड साइड बाय साइड, so that is what I am trying to clarify, that these structures are not all situated side by side and this is not a skyline. This is just a silhouette wherein all the important structures are put side by side to uh, just create a silhouette, and which could be used as a kind of important frame from tourism point of view. तो यहाँ पे आपको ये दिखाई दे रहा है एक इम्पॉर्टेंट स्ट्रक्चर, ये दिखाई दे रहा है, ठीक है, और ये दिखाई दे रहा है. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट देर आर अदर स्ट्रक्चर्स ऑल्सो ऑफ कोर्स. व्हाट अबाउट दिस, व्हाट अबाउट दिस स्पेयर लाइक थिन टावर, राइट? हाउ अबाउट दिस? ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट ऑल दी स्ट्रक्चर. ये कौन सा स्ट्रक्चर है बताओ? What is this? What is this structure like? How about this? ये तो पता होगा सबको. न्यू दिल्ली में. बोलो जल्दी से.
Lotus Temple.
Lotus Temple. Brilliant. What about this? जो यहाँ आपको दिखाई दे रहा है ना, वो यही स्ट्रक्चर है. राष्ट्रपति भवन, designed by Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker. ये नाम भी आप लिख लीजिए. हो सकता है कि क्वेश्चन में आपको ये आ जाए कि राष्ट्रपति भवन इज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट स्ट्रक्चर्स ऑफ कैपिटल कॉम्प्लेक्स इन दिल्ली डिजाइन्ड बाय एडविन लुटियंस एंड वन मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट फिगर नोन एज. उसके बाद 4 ऑप्शंस आपको दे दिए जा सकते हैं, तो ये भी नाम आप लिख लीजिए. Rashtrapati Bhavan is residence of the Honorable President of India. We all are aware, and this is not only Rashtrapati Bhavan but the entire Capitol complex, which includes the Secretariat buildings, Parliament House, and several other buildings, which are civic buildings and used by Government of India. All those buildings, the entire avenue including India Gate has been designed by the same architect. This is India Gate over here. ठीक है, तो ऐसे आप फाइंड आउट करो कि बाकी सारे बिल्डिंग्स कौन कौन से हैं. दिस इज राष्ट्रपति भवन over here. Silhouette of Rashtrapati Bhavan, and this is Humayun's tomb. Very famous tourist attractions in the city. This is the 3D picture of it, and if you just look at it from one side, as in the elevation, the front elevation, you can see this. So Humayun's tomb. Famous from Mughal architectural style. With that, we would end up particular part